Hello everyone, Hizaron here, and welcome to a tutorial of Starforge Beta 0.8. The idea for this tutorial is to give players who have little to no experience with the game a nice little starting point, a whole bunch of starter items, all the different resources, and other tidbits of information that should help your gameplay go a little smoother and give you an idea of what to do. So without any further ado, let's get started. When you first spawn in a world, you'll spawn somewhere on the grassy plain surrounding the vat. The vat has a red beam that shoots into the air, which makes it easy to locate at long distances. All the resources are going to be immediately around this and the surrounding hills. So if you go too far out, you will not find any resources. Also, you'll not find resources underground in any great quantity, so you should not worry about trying to locate them. You start out with 3 health injections, 5 meal injections, a nav beacon, which, if right-clicked, will shoot a beam into the sky for 4 minutes. It's useful for locating other players and bringing your team together. However, it is visible to all players, so putting it at the location of your base is not the smartest idea. Also, you have the protective spire. Once placed, you can pick it back up, but all blocks within it are protected from erosion. Erosion is where every so often the server will delete and purge all blocks not protected to help free up its space, make it go quicker, whatever. So bottom line, put the spire down, build within it, and your stuff will be safe. Probably the most important item that you start out with is the ground pounder. The ground pounder is basically your T1 drill, and it is used to harvest everything that you can from the very beginning. It's used to kill mobs and collect resources from them, and it's used to collect wood. Wood is very useful at the beginning because it is one of the few things that you start out with the recipes to build anything for. Everything else you need to collect blueprints, which I'll be getting into here in just a moment. This is a dappardillo, which we are going to quickly kill with our ground pounder and loot the body. We got 3 meat, we got 4 fiber, and we got a blueprint. This blueprint is for the large meal replacement injection. So if you look right here, all we have is the meal replacement and the health injection. If we right click and use it, we now can make the large MR injection. One way to get blueprints instead of just killing creatures is to approach the crashed ship and loot these boxes, because you can find blueprints within them and other loot as well. However, do be careful, because once you get too close to the ship, you do start taking radiation damage, and you also have the mobs to contend with. Readying the ship is an excellent way to get blueprints, and it is highly advisable. However, it is not advisable to do so without proper equipment, because the jelly puffs that you see in the background are very dangerous. If you get close, once they decide to explode, they quickly blow up, and there's nothing you can do about it. You die. So, do take care, but definitely raid the ship as soon as you can. When playing Starforge, you'll need resources to craft, build, and do anything. From a distance, resources can look different than what they do up close. So for over here, we have oil and iron, and as we get closer, you'll see that they become more prominent in their features. Over here looks like a gray rock, and when we get closer, we'll see that it's actually oil. Each and every resource has its own unique look from a distance. So keep an eye out and you'll soon be able to figure out which resources are which from a distance. Snow is an extremely useful resource. It is the only way to get water, and water is used to craft every single injection with the exception to the basic meal replacement injection, which only requires 5 meat to forge. This is oil, with its many different shades of black. Oil can be harvested with the ground pounder, and you'll find that it is needed in every single stage of the game when you start creating items. So it's definitely something useful, and you should get some as soon as you see it. This is iron ore, with its rusty appearance. Iron ore can be harvested with the ground pounder, and it is used in many important things, especially early on in the game. Next is clay. Clay has a nice orange color to it, and it can be found laying in the ground. It can be harvested with the ground pounder, and it's typically used for making blocks, structures, and later in the game for making charges to blast through other players' structures and gain access to their loot. And this is gravel. Gravel stays flush with the ground similar to sulfur, and can be harvested with the T1 drill. As of yet, I do not know any recipes that require it, but there may be some that I am yet unaware of. This is sulfur, with its very yellow appearance. Sulfur can be harvested with the ground pounder, and is used very early on for several different important things, mostly for ammo for your ranged weapon. This is sandstone, with its white and orange speckled appearance. Sandstone can be harvested with the ground pounder, and is actually needed to upgrade to the T2 drill. This is garrison ore. Garrison ore cannot be harvested with the ground pounder and requires a T2 drill or higher. As of yet, I have only found it in the desert sandy area biome, so if you're looking for it, that is an excellent place to start looking. Next up is sand. Sand can be found in the desert biome in great abundance. You need it to craft many different things, including your forging terminal. This is obsidian ore. Red, black, speckly, and kind of evil looking. This can be mined with a T1 drill. It can be mined with any drill. However, higher tier drills are quicker. And this is dark matter shale. Dark matter shale is a nice dark and purple shimmery effect to it, and it cannot be harvested by the ground pounder. It requires a T2 drill or higher to mine. And so far, the only places I have found it are in the Red Hills biome, so that is an excellent place to start looking if you are trying to find this higher end resource. This is Saltex ore. Saltex cannot be harvested with the ground pounder. It needs a T2 drill or higher. It is white, slightly speckled, and looks almost like chocolate chip ice cream. Very delicious. This is Voltronic ore. It is blue and darker colored speckled. It cannot be harvested with the ground pounder. You need a T2 drill or higher to harvest this lovely blue. This is Crystallis ore, with its purple and white blotchy blotted surface. Crystallis ore cannot be harvested with the ground pounder. Crystallis ore cannot be harvested with the T2 drill. Crystallis ore requires the T3 drill or higher. The T4 drill requires crystallis ore in its recipe. Crystallis ore is also used in the hacking terminal, and currently it can only be found in the Red Hills biome. So that is an excellent place to look for it if you are at that stage and you want to get a better drill. When you're finally ready to start building, first you're going to want to craft your items. So first you're going to hit tab, select what you want, and down here change the number in the bottom right on Forge to how many you want, and then click the Forge button. I currently do not have enough resources to do this since I've already made the blocks. Now initially you can use left click to place your blocks, or you can use this game's intuitive drag function by holding down left click, and you can build your structure this way. It can be used in all planes. All I do is hold onto a face, drag out, and you can remove up to the last 5 blocks placed. After that, you cannot remove the blocks, so please keep that in mind when building your structures. Be careful when climbing mountains, because rather abruptly you can be faced with an enormous drop-off that could possibly lead to your death or make it extremely difficult to find where you are. So, be cautious out there. If you end up going too quickly downhill, you will end up rolling and go out of control, and quite possibly die because you cannot stop your descent. So, please be careful. If you're going to be playing on a multiplayer server, something you need to realize is that every so often there will be rollbacks. 5, 10 minutes or more is not uncommon. And during this time, you'll be kicked from the server, and then when you join back in, you will be at a previous place in the game with your inventory as it was at that point. Now, when that happens, you can actually have your inventory wiped. I've had that happen to me once or twice. And one way to stop that is to do this. When you first get on the server, do /help. And you notice when I typed in T a moment ago, it said guest. What you're going to do is, on this help page, there's /register. You do that, and then your gamer tag. It says you are now known as Hizron. So if I do hello world, oh, okay, hello world, that'll work. It says member next to my name. When doing this, and then waiting 20 to 30 seconds to log in after a reset, I have not yet lost my stuff. So hopefully that will be useful for you. Also, very important about PvP, or more accurately, multiplayer servers, is that when you log out, you're just on the ground. You're laying on the ground, and if I can actually get the terrain to cooperate with me, you can see this guy's head. You're just laying here. So if you log out in an exposed location, somebody can come along and kill you off and then loot your body. And it looks like he had just the basic starter items. So definitely be cautious not to log out in an exposed spot if you have anything precious. Dig down into the ground, run really far away, dig a hole, build a building. Do not stay out in the open directly around the spawn point, because that is commonly harvest for noobs. So I hope that'll help. First thing you automatically start out with is the recipe for this little zip gun. It requires pistol ammo, which requires iron, oil, and sulfur. Every single bullet in the game requires these things. One of each will give you 10 bullets. So since I just queued up 6, we're going to get 60 pistol bullets. So you can get this thing really soon as you get the resources to make it. To make it, it requires no forging terminal, requires 1 wood and 20 iron ore. Next up on the upgrade is the pistol, which requires 10 steel ingots. I don't think I have that in my queue. The pistol is quite nice because it has a magazine capacity of 8. So you can definitely kill things a bit quicker with this. After that, you have several different options. You have shotguns, chain guns, assault rifles, and they each take their own corresponding amount of ammo. So, shotgun, for example, is going to use shotgun ammo. The 2 pistols use pistol ammo, and most other weapons are going to use the combat ammo. You are going to need a forging terminal. A forging terminal is extremely useful. It requires 25 sand and 75 steel ingots. You need this to create almost everything in the game. Rusty chain gun, assault rifle, shotgun, they all need the forging terminal. So to make the forging terminal, you get the resources and hit forge. After 10 seconds it'll be made. If you're creating anything and you hit the cancel button, you keep all the resources and you only lose the time that you've been waiting. But if you hit forge again, you have to wait the entire 10 seconds again. So please keep that in mind. Once it's created, you place it. And in the bottom left, you'll see that I'm within range of the forging terminal. When I get out of range, it'll tell me, I cannot forge, I'm out of range. Hitting tab, bringing up your crafting menu, will show you the little bubble that you can craft in. If you're within that bubble, you can craft things require a forging terminal. A smelter is something that does not need the forging terminal. You need this to cook up a lot of basic things to get all your ingots. So I'm going to quickly drop in a single iron ore, and we're going to get an iron ingot. This creates steel, titanium, graphene, and monolithium ingots. Another useful thing that you're going to want to make is a refinery. The refinery requires power, and power is something else. There is a smaller sphere right here. This is a small power generator. If I place this within that sphere, it would have power. There's another sphere, which is a little larger, that is the medium generator. I know it's hard to see, but I'll kind of outline it with this. This sphere is the medium. The large generator is in my base way over there and is coming up to this point. So that is a relatively large range for a large generator. However, there is one higher tier generator which I do not have the blueprint for, called the fusion generator. That thing is twice the range of the large generator. So we are now within range. It has power. I'm going to drop this down, open the refinery, and I have one Saltex ore with me, which we're going to drop in there and get Saltex powder. You can also drop in obsidian ore for obsidian powder and dark matter shale for dark powder. Saltex powder takes the least amount of time to refine, whereas obsidian powder and dark powder take an even longer amount of time. Now, with your chests, refineries, and smelters, if you hold E, you bring up a security information thing. I totally can't think right now. Using this, you can determine whether your friends will have access to something or not. All friends by default are security level 1. However, this entire system is glitched because once you friend someone, they are stuck as your friends. And once you log off, and they're no longer in your social inventory. So everyone is set to default level 1, and you can set it to security level 3, but if we were to log out and come back in, it would lose that setting. So open the refinery. Over here we see our finished Saltex powder. We're just going to quickly grab the iron ingot out of here so you can see that. Oh, I did just remember one other thing I wanted to go over. Chests. There are wooden chests and then other chests. We have iron chests, steel chests. We have titanium chests. And I dropped it, so. Out of all these chests, the wooden chest is not locked. Anyone can access a wooden chest, so please beware. Every other chest is locked. If you hold E, you can bring up security information, which, as I said, that whole feature is bugged. Next, we're going to look at the different vehicles in the game in order of least important / useless to the better ones. First, we have the basic trailer. It is currently pointless because we no longer have the pallet system to hold resources. At that point, we could simply toss them in the trailer and then cart them around. If they make it to where we could install chests on the inside of the trailer and move our goods that way, that would be an interesting feature. Then we can move a base all at once and not make many smaller trips if we need to move in the future. Next up, we have the buggy. I don't think the buggy can even attach to the trailer at this time. Maybe it can, but I don't like it. The buggy rolls away, it steers horribly, and it's just annoying. So I don't like the buggy. We do have the hovership single up next. It's on fire in my world, ignore that. It can hover around, does a good job. It's a little big, and it doesn't stay too high off the ground, so I'm not a big fan of it. The hovership double is basically the same exact thing, but a little larger and can hold 2 people. It is currently the only vehicle in the game that can hold 2 people. Next up, we have the hovership Speedy. The hovership Speedy is one of my favorites because it is extremely quick, and it is actually quite high in the air. It's kind of hard to see this right now, but I'll quickly just hover over these other hover vehicles. It can get really high. In order to exit this, or any hover vehicle for that matter, a lot easier, hold X and you'll drop down. If you let go, you shoot back up. So continue holding X, then hit E to exit the vehicle for a much easier time to get out. And lastly, the best hover ship, well, this and the Speedy are both really close, and I'll tell you why in a moment, is the hovership Basic. The hovership Basic does not hover as high as the Speedy hovership, so it can have a little problem with the terrain generation, but it's not that bad. However, this is the good thing. The hovership Basic and the buggy can both fit through a garage door. Every other vehicle is just too massive to fit into the garage door. So if you want to store your vehicles, since I already hate the buggy, and you'll probably hate it as well, go for the hovership Basic. It is cheap, inexpensive, and if you lose it due to terrain generation problems, you fall through the world and it's gone forever, you haven't lost too much resources. Also, the hovership Speedy, among being the fastest and really useful, you can actually loot it from the crashed ship in-game. Once you've gotten a lot of blueprints and you're higher up there and you're getting higher end loot, I've gotten 4 of these on a single server. So I hope this little quick crash in vehicles will help you out. And moving on. And to finish things off with a bang, we are going to blow up a 2 thick wall of graphene blocks. We are using the best charge in the game right now. It is not the blast charge. It is not the hex charge. It is the plasma charge, which requires 50 dark sulfur and 10 clay. I'm going to quickly move so I don't get killed in the blast radius. And we are going to see what it does against a too thick wall. Well, folks, it looks like anyone who makes a too thick wall with these extremely powerful blocks cannot stand up to the blast charge. Anyway, I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. And since I'm in creative mode, I can quickly fly and almost kill myself. There we go. Have fun playing the game, and y'all have a great day.